Hey everybody, welcome to Raising Vibrations. So this video, what I want to do with you today is talk to you about Venus, Mercury, and the Sun in Cancer, and particularly addressing the square that is happening to the South and North Node in the sign of Libra and Aries. From an evolutionary astrology perspective, when planets are squaring the nodes, we are dealing with a sort of indecisiveness, and we're dealing with a necessary need to experience some form of continued development, emotional development, and integration. And I'll be breaking this down for us and what that means. So it's actually a pretty big deal, these squares that are happening right now. I also want to talk to you about, also give you some of my thoughts around the upcoming Saturn retrograde that's going to be happening on the 29th or starting on the 29th of June. And just kind of touching a little bit on the most recent full moon that we had in Capricorn, and just rounding it off and giving us a sense of what the sky looks like at the moment. Okay, so that's the plan today, and that's where we're going to go. So Saturn in Pisces. There is a video that I did a while back when Saturn was entering Pisces, and I sort of flushed out some really deep individual and collective ideas about what I sense and feel this transit is going to look like and what is essentially going to happen. Again, the video will be in the description of this video, okay? So you can go check that out. I'm going to be drawing from a lot of what I said in that video here as well. So in the shortest way that I could try to do this, which is really difficult, Saturn through Pisces is a individual and then also a collective awakening. And what I mean by that specifically is an acceleration towards being disillusioned and psychologically, psychologically disenfranchised. In order for us to, we as human beings project our reality, okay? That's just fundamental 101 predictive processing. The brain is consistently trying to predict reality based on what you've experienced in the past and what types of signals you're receiving through your senses. And this kind of synthesis between your perception and what you've been conditioned by and how your body responds to the signals in your environment, it creates a little movie projector and it projects that reality in there. And so what happens is that when we do anything in life, we're either being driven by deep myths that give us a sense of direction, and we attach to these directions, and we find meaning and identity in the myths. That's why the power of myth, the power of storytelling, the power of propaganda is so deeply influential in psychological manipulation or psychological drivers, is because that's how we fundamentally attach to reality and then find meaning in it and project meaning into it. So, and this is very much the Piscean realm. It's that you're not going to do something with a high level of motivation and continuity if you don't find meaning in it, right? That's literally sort of the sort of extreme version of depression. There's absolutely nothing, no dopamine, no serotonin, just an absolute emptiness. And so Pisces is that. It's the complete emptiness of something, and it's the complete meaning of something. And we kind of oscillate on that spectrum. So when Saturn moves through Pisces, what it does for us individually is it brings into reality, Saturn, the necessary need to acknowledge Saturn and reflect on Saturn, where we have held belief systems, perspectives, where our imagination and our meaning has once been placed, and what we projected into that and said this is what we were doing. So, many of us might have said, "Oh, I want to become an attorney or a doctor, or I wanted to do this," and then at some point you realize that that was driven by maybe the pressure from a parent or the pressure from external situations. And so you find this moment in your life of trying to kind of grapple with the progressive loss of meaning of something, but this almost like this weird psychological pressure to have to commit to it, but you don't feel it. It's like it's not real for you anymore. This is kind of a Saturn through Pisces experience as we come to experiences within our lives where we become disenfranchised. We lose the drive towards continually giving meaning to the thing that we thought was meaningful. So on a collective level, Saturn through Pisces is accelerating everybody's like this process of essentially becoming disenfranchised. And it can range from just simply thinking that you thought that your life was about getting married and having children and buying a house and doing this job over there. And you realize you're coming to this realization that that's actually not what you want. You actually value freedom. You value this thing, you value that thing. And so you shift your priorities. And that's very much what actually the basis of today's conversation is about, is this reordering of the internal prioritization of what you consider meaningful and real and exciting within your life. Like that's a perspective that I want to share with you and drive home with you today. And it is very much shaped around individual trajectory. Like, what is your individual trajectory? Okay, that's one perspective that I'm tuning into with these transits. That if you see them through the individual lens of your own individual emotional journey here on Earth, you will find that these types of dynamics are at play. And they can be very subtle, right? You might start to notice that you have a preference to one thing and not a preference to another. And there's a kind of reprioritization of what you actually think is valuable and meaningful and real, and what you would want to continue to give meaning to, and what you're noticing is kind of decaying and what you're letting go of, right? So that's what I mean at an individual level. And so this is accelerating a collective process. On a collective level, as in just kind of transits that you see manifest in the consensus world, there is a progressive realization and acceleration and a demystification, right? Kind of demystifying and starting to see it clearer through a lot of organizations, a lot of structures, a lot of models of reality that are held by organizations that once kind of that are deceptive. Okay, that's probably the best word. It's like seeing through the deception. And this Saturn retrograde, whenever a planet goes retrograde, what it does is it accelerates the process of whatever it is, that whatever sign that planet's in. So, and also, just if you're understanding evolutionary astrology and you're studying it, when Saturn goes retrograde, you need to look to what Uranus is doing in the chart to understand the context of what that Saturn retrograde is about. And that's simply because when Saturn goes offline, there's an underlying Uranian impulse that is kind of breaking through. And that Uranian impulse is what shatters the structures that have become outdated or that feel outdated and are limiting. And it breaks it, it pushes it. It says this is no longer, there's more rebellion, there's more need to decentralize things, there's more there's an acceleration to break down those structures so that new structures can be reformed. So that's actually what happens when Saturn goes retrograde. It's a process of realizing where things have outdated, because things are always consistently being updated and at the same time becoming outdated at the same time. So Saturn does that. It shows us where things are outdated. And then it goes retrograde. And during that retrograde period, Uranus kind of bleeds through, and you have a continual acceleration of epiphanies and perspectives and realizations that this needs to change. We need to break this down, and here's how we're going to do it. And so it's like that instinct to just break it down. And then Saturn moves direct again, and there's like okay, well, what do we do now once we've decentralized it? And so then new forms start to sort of be emerge, right, out of what has been broken apart or shattered. So pretty much what you can understand is that whenever Saturn is turning retrograde in your chart, say it's your second house or your fifth house, pretty much know that that's going to be a period of time where you're going to be questioning the limitations and feelings of outdatedness in that house placement. And what I'm encouraging you to do is to kind of go with it, right? Allow yourself to be to break out of that, to challenge that kind of definition. Say, you know what, this is no longer relevant or real or present for me right now. It's not alive. Okay, so it's kind of throwing that in there. So when Saturn goes retrograde, what we're going to have is this period of time. So I can actually go ahead and show you exactly where Saturn is going to be turning retrograde. This is one of the things that I absolutely love about the lunar software program, is that you can click on the planets and it just kind of shows you, it cleans out everything and it just shows you the aspects, right? And then if you click on it again, it gives you this whole entire list of amazing information. And one of the things that I love about it the most is this event navigator. If you click on it, like, so if I do this, if I click on it like that, and I look direction changes, I can literally see when Saturn's going to turn direct on the 29th of June. So you don't have to kind of go looking for it. And you click on it, and it will immediately bring you the chart, right? It will immediately bring you the chart of when Saturn is turning retrograde. I just had to update that over there. And so now we can start to see, like, okay, there's the moon conjuncting that Chiron energy. We've got this Mercury coming in opposition to Pluto. So that's what the Saturn retrograde chart looks like. But what I was trying to say to you here is that when the collective goes through a Saturn retrograde, you will see that there is a progressive acceleration around where boundaries, where things have been defined, where structures have been formed, where the rules have been made. And you have to think about it in terms of like the macrocosm, like how governments and societies order the people and how they organize themselves and what laws they put in place, to at the micro level in terms of your life and what it is that you wish to during this time. What you want to pay attention to is, where am I feeling stuck? Where am I feeling that things are not moving forward for me? And where is there a need to actually break out of this like structure that is feeling limiting to me? And oftentimes it's always like stepping over that boundary and saying, I need to do something completely radically new and bring something new into your life. So the Saturn retrograde is an acceleration around seeing where your belief systems and your perspectives, and particularly where you have meaning in your life, has become essentially outdated. And you're probably feeling that, right? It's like, this job is no longer meaningful, this thing is no longer meaningful, whatever that might be, right? And this relationship, etc. And during this period of time, Uranus is coming along and saying, so what could you do to change that? What thing can you do? What action, what choice, what perspective, what frame of mind you can bring into your life that will reorientate you and kind of push the boundary further and allow for you to grow into a new sense of definitions. So it's like we're shedding the skin, right? And growing into new skin. That's probably one of the best ways that I can deeply describe the process of Saturn retrograde, then Uranus influencing the retrograde, and then Saturn turning direct again. It's like your skin has become too tight, your definitions and your boundaries have become too tight, and you feel that, and now you have to shed that skin by moving through it and allowing a new set of definitions to regenerate your life. Okay. And for you, you just need to see what that's for you. You just need to pay attention to your body and your emotional body, because it will tell you where those limitations are. Okay. In terms of the Saturn retrograde chart itself, what is really interesting to me is that the Moon Chiron North Node is right there. And of course, when you see this signature over here of this North Node Moon Chiron, to me it elicits an absolute signature of, there is a need to grow beyond the definitions that have become outdated, right? Because Pisces is the end of something and Aries is the emergence of something new. So this pattern is speaking to really taking on board the Aries energy. And in a more specific sense, taking on board that Aries energy has to do with the reprioritization, the reordering of your value structure, the reordering of what you actually feel is real for you, what is alive for you. And this will all tie back to the Pluto at 1 degree retrograde in Aquarius, where we're all going through a collective kind of shakeup again around what it is that actually feels authentic and real and truthful. And so if it's not feeling aligned with you, then you're probably finding that the alignment is because there is a progressive lack of meaning and purpose and drive And that is signaling to you that that's the end of the line for that story, and a new fractal line, a new storyline is being asked for you to step into. And each of us at some point in our lives are feeling that kind of growth edge where we're ready to step into something new, but probably feeling at the same time that there's an underlying sense of, no, I've got to stay back. It's not safe. What do I do? How do I do that? And that's very much what this Venus over here, Mercury Sun contact is all about. So I talked about the Venus square the nodes, the Mercury square the nodes, and the Sun square the nodes. Now, whenever there is planets that are squaring the lunar axis, this is the lunar axis, this is the south node, this is the north node. Whenever planets are squaring it, so this red line that you see there, that's a 90-degree angle between that and that, as in 30 degrees apart. 90 degrees apart. Whenever you see that square that's taking place there, those planets are saying, hey, you need to consistently integrate me into the north node story or the south node story in order for you to move forward. And if you don't do that, you're going to essentially be stuck trying to do the north node, right? Move forward in a direction, but fail to move forward in a complete way. I mean, that's pretty much the basis of the skip step. So what the Venus in Cancer, Sun in Cancer, Mercury in Cancer is all about is that in order for you to move forward, North Node in Aries, etc., right, and grow beyond these definitions, you have to emotionally believe and have the internal security to trust that this next step that you're taking is something that you can do. You have to have faith in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. And you have to trust yourself. And if you can't fulfill any of those things, you need to work on that. All right, that's the first thing. The second thing is, because this is a Cancer archetype, you need to emotionally feel this transition that you're going through. It can't be an intellectualized kind of thing where you're like, oh, I've got to do this and I'm convincing myself and I should. It's more like, no, this is aligned with me. This is real for me. This is where my passion is. This is where I'm emotionally connecting to this experience. And a lot of people will probably say, but I can't even feel that, Simon. Like, I don't even know what that is. And the one thing that I can say to you is that in and of itself is still giving you a sense of where you're at. In other words, what I'm trying to say here is that all of us are not going to be at the same place at the same time regarding this Saturn retrograde, this North Node in Aries. We've all got different emotional places that we are at. And some of us are right at the beginning, being initiated into a set of kind of disenfranchised awakening experiences and are feeling disorientated. And this Cancer Venus energy over here is saying, acknowledge that. Acknowledge that you have arrived at this point and that there's no going back, but that's just where you are, right? That's actually the key here, I think, for all of us, is this is where I'm at. People that are a little bit more further along that road and are feeling a sense of knowing that this is where the next steps are for me, invest in that, go with that, move in that direction and emotionally engage in that process. And for those that are already moving in that direction and feeling that they're in alignment with the process, this is a great time to be able to really allow your emotional expression to exist, to really, really deeply connect with those emotions and go even deeper into the reason as to why you feel so strongly and so passionately about the direction that you feel you want to take up space in. That's the North Node Chiron moon here, is that each of us, we're kind of like splitting apart from a shared collective illusion into an individual set of bubbles, right? Of our own perceptions and our own perspectives. And this kind of breaking apart and coming into an individual set of bubbles means that we're all at different spaces. We're all at different places within our lives. And the Aries energy is, what space are you taking up? So my conclusion for you today, in terms of this video and how you can move forward with these energies, is that there is a progressive acceleration to ignite and illuminate where things have become stuck, outdated, and are no longer working for you anymore. Now you need to then acknowledge that process, and from where you are standing, begin to take the first steps in that new direction, and to continue to keep moving in that direction, whatever that is, or stay in that acknowledgement of here's where I am, and go deeper into what it is that you're feeling, go deeper into what it is that you're actually going through, and allow yourself to naturally take up space and acknowledge that space. Okay? So, one more time, just kind of for my own process, I suppose, because there's quite a lot of information here, and I really want to make this land for us, is that you're feeling this Cancer archetype energy is allowing you to feel where you are in time and space and to acknowledge that. Okay. And then from there, allow that orientation to say, okay, what are my new priorities? What do I actually value? What is the things that I want to do in this world? What are the things that I want to give my time to? What is no longer meaningful for me? What is no longer relevant for me? And kind of allow yourself to really get deep into understanding how your senses and your perception is being sort of constructed, I suppose, or influenced by that frame of mind that I'm asking you to come into, which is orientation. Like, I am trying to orientate myself, and the North Node in Aries is telling you exactly. It's either say take up space and acknowledge where you are, or continue to keep moving in that direction and deepening your emotional bond towards that direction. Okay. All right. Whew. I'm sorry. It just came out like that. I hope that it makes sense to you. I hope that you find value in that process as well. Two things that I'm going to do before I go. One of them is the link to watch the Saturn in Pisces video is I'll put it in the description. And also, by the way, workshops, right? I've been wanting to do workshops for a long period of time. And I want to sort of, get to know exactly what type of workshops people want to do. So I've actually created a small little kind of like interest and wait list. It's on Telegram. I'll leave the link over there. You can join it. I'm going to be putting some information out there soon about what it is that I want to be doing. And I hope to actually be able to provide you with some deeper astrological knowledge, not only on the transits that are going right now, but also in terms of your own chart as well. Okay. So that information's there. I'll leave the link to join the Telegram group. Come join it. Come see what other people are interested in. And it's also a place where I can speak to you directly about what it is that I think and is inspiring for me, but also what you might also be inspired by. Okay. All right, my friends, thanks very much for listening to this video. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.